Okay, so for today's session, before we begin, let's go through a quick mood check that we do every session. So Priyanka, okay, so she has launched it already. It's on your screens. Let us know how you're feeling today. Are you feeling amazing, good, just okay, or you're feeling a bit low? It will be good to know because if you are feeling amazing, then I'm sure that today's discussion is going to be excellent. But if you are feeling a bit low, I hope today's discussion session raises your spirits and you go back much more charged than you came in. So, Priyanka, let us know the results whenever it's finished. So, excellent. About 80% of the participants who are right now with us, they're feeling either good or amazing, which is very good. There are some people who are okay, just okay, but I hope in due course you feel much better. So with that, on that note, let's move ahead. Let us see the participant progress until today. Now, see, this is a ritual that we have for every week, and you have been seeing this. So, as you see, by today, most of you should have been on module 5, close to step number 40. And Andrew Zapata, Bellington, Bran Bear, Olga, Senzelve, Artwell, Faith, Maxwell, Kumbirai, Bako, Ronald, Valerie, Fungi, and another Maxwell. Okay, there are two Maxwells. So congratulations, you guys are doing an excellent job following the calendar, making sure you are right on top of the program. So very many congratulations to you. However, there are some people who are still quite behind, and I would request them to, make sure you get on with the course schedule. And I've also asked Priyanka and Wilson to follow up with them. So Charity, Neasha, Akileen, Lloyd, uh, Tafatsva, and other people who you see, who have not progressed too far. Sincere request to make sure that you finish your course. Priyanka has also sent you an email that we are giving a 1 week extension. So you will have a bit more time on your hands. But people who are still on module 1 or 2, even with 1 week extension, it is going to be a bit challenging for you to finish the course if you don't start today. Okay. So I wish you all the best. Again, the people who are ahead, maybe find a colleague and reach out to them, encourage them to, complete the course. Maybe you can help them. Maybe you can study together. It will help everyone because all of you are based in Zimbabwe. So you will have a collective skill which you can use in the industry, which will eventually lead towards a collective good. So I appreciate everyone who's following the schedule, and I request others to catch up. So moving on, week 2 was all about quantification and product selection and quantification, but a lot of emphasis we had put on quantification because as we did, as we conducted the survey with a lot of people in Zimbabwe, a key point which came out almost every time was weak forecasting, weak quantification, demand planning was not done in the right way, and this is also evident in the discussions on the platform. You know, so we studied, and the last session was also about understanding how to forecast commodity need. Now, once you finish your forecasting, once you finish your supply plans, that's when the next step comes, which is procurement. And this week, it's all about procurement. So once the demand plan is set, um, you know, the procurement team or the purchasing department, they take it over, They find the suppliers, and they make sure that the commodities are procured at the right cost, and they reach the whoever, the service delivery points at the right time, in the right manner. So all that is the role of the procurement team, to make sure the specifications are right, the timing is right, and the costs are right. Now, in week 2, we also studied how to manage a quantification committee. We discussed about a RACI matrix tool. This is also applicable on a procurement committee, and I'm sure in lots of your organization there is a procurement committee as well. So RACI is a very good tool to manage teams and committees who are working towards a specific goal. So, for example, in quantification, there are different tasks and different people has to be involved. So in those cases, RACI matrix is quite useful. It clearly indicates who's doing the work, who's ultimately accountable, which are the people who needs to be consulted, and who are the stakeholders who need to be informed about the progress. So do use these kind of tools in your actual work. If you need, do let us know. We will send you some templates as well, and I think some of the templates were also attached as part of the course. So make sure you use these templates on your in your daily workplace, because it will help you a lot. Okay. Now, okay, so for this week, so what's happening? So in this week, the focus on the module is module 5, which is procuring the right products, which is all about procurement. There are 2 discussions that you need to participate in. One is, are we on the same boat, which is about okay, sorry, I forgot what was that about. I think it's about how the lead times and how you procure and everything. And we want to understand what's happening in different organizations and different places. And then there is a small discussion about a procurement strategy in your organization, which is very similar to what Obvious is going to talk about, like strategic sourcing. So that's the strategy that they are using in their organization, for example. So what is the strategy that you are using in your organization, or if you have seen one where you work? Okay. Or as a pharmacist, if you know what is the procurement strategy for your health supply chains, public health supply chains, right? This week's assignment is linked to today's group discussion. It's a case study of a fictitious country called Fictivia. No surprises there. In this case study, there is a case, a background is set. Then there are some questions which you must answer as part of the group. So more we'll discuss in the next slides, but this is what is happening this week. It's not a very, very big week in terms of things to do. But if you are behind, then you have to catch up on the previous week and then also do this week's work. Now, before we move on to the case, let me ask a quick question on what do you think is the difference between a supply lead time and a procurement lead time? So anyone who is aware of these 2 terms, maybe other than Obvious, I'm sure he must know these. But other than Obvious, who is a procurement expert, anyone else who wants to take a crack on what is the difference between these 2 terms? Please, you can either raise your hand, put in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself and speak. Anyone? Not really? Okay. So since it might be difficult for you to talk about this. Okay, am I muted? Okay, can you hear me? Priyanka, am I audible?
Yes, Sanjay, you are perfectly audible.
Okay, Faith and Senzelve, do you want to say something? You wrote you are muted. Where is Faith? Faith. Priya, can you check if you can
Yeah,
unmute
Faith
them?
and Senzelbe are using the same account, I guess. Both of their names are written together.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Faith and Sanjalve, do you want to say something? Okay, Akileen, you raised your hand. You want to say something? Please unmute yourself.
So I think basically supply lead time is all to do with the supplier. We're talking about the time from the time where the supplier receives an order, is processing it, and then the time he or she would take to deliver the drugs to the place where it's required, or the medicines, whatever it is. And then when it comes to procurement lead time, basically we're just talking about, say for example, at a hospital, usually there's a department which does procurement. So we're now talking about the time the procurement department takes to process whatever order that has been sent by, say, a pharmacy or the hospital, up until it gets its supply. I don't know if that's really correct.
So, Akileen, you knew the answer, but you were silent for so long. It's the correct answer. So, if we talk about the general term lead time, it simply means that the time between a request has been placed until that request has been fulfilled. That's the simplest definition of a lead time. Now, in our supply chains, the lead time can be inferred in many ways based on where you are sitting. So if you are at a health facility, for you, lead time would mean when you have raised the order to your store or your warehouse, and until the time you have received it. The order has been fulfilled, you received the product. So that is your order lead time. For a Okay, Faith, I'll get back to you quickly. For a warehouse, if the warehouse is receiving, let's say a regional warehouse is receiving products from a central warehouse. So then for them, the lead time would be the time between they place the order and they receive the product, right? So similarly, just like Akileen mentioned, supply lead time is actually uh, with respect to the supplier. So when a procurement team will raise a purchase order, supply lead time starts then. And then the time between that purchase order is raised versus the product they enter the warehouse. So that is the supply lead time. In comparison, procurement lead time is related to the procurement department. So let's say once the quantification is finished, the quantification team has given the entire demand of the products to the procurement team. So from that, starting when the PO has been raised, that is the procurement lead time. That's a basic definition. And the reason why we talk about this is because these points will come in the case as well. So Faith and Sen Zelwe, back to you. You had raised your hand. Please, you can speak now.
Hello, good afternoon. We just wanted to respond on the supply lead time where hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Please.
Okay, we're saying on the supply lead time, from our own understanding, it's the period between ordering of commodities right up to the time when they are delivered, and then the procurement lead time is from the time of quantification into the forecasting, and then the time the procurement process starts. I don't know whether that's correct. Thank you.
Yeah. So by the time when the procurement process finishes, so that is the end of that. That's the period. So when the procurement process begins to the end of procurement process is the procurement lead time. So generally it starts when the requisition has been placed to the procurement team that, okay, these are the products, let's say 100 products, and in these quantities are needed in these locations, or in these at these service delivery points or warehouses. So then the procurement team will take that, they will place the orders to the suppliers if they already have the contracts. If they don't have the contracts, then they will set up bidding or single sourcing or whatever methods that they have to establish contracts and place the purchase orders. So by the time they place the purchase order, that is the end of procurement process. The time between these 2 points is called procurement lead time. So when we talk about lead time in general in supply chain, so it can be divided into these parts. So there is a procurement lead time, then there is a supply lead time. So together, for a national level, there is total lead time. So by the time, from the time that quantification is finished to the time when the products reach the warehouse is the total lead time. Okay. Yes, Olga, Shuvai, then Synodia, all of you are absolutely correct. You've understood the concept. The reason we wanted to talk about this is because these things will come in the case study. Okay. So now, without spending too much time, let me go to the case study. I will introduce the case first, and then we'll talk about the rules of organizing today's discussion. Okay, so let me read the case first. Now, Fictivia is a country with 5 regions. So it's a small country. It has 5 regions. Local pharmaceutical production capacity is limited. So the country imports most of its needs. So let's say 90 to 95% of products are imported from wherever, let's say India, China, South Africa, whatever, wherever they're importing it from. Now, as Fictivia is a landlocked country, so it's very much like Zimbabwe, freight forwarders have to, okay, we can hardly hear. Okay, is it much better? I'm not sure what's the problem. Maybe you can try to increase the volume from your side. Priyanka, is my audio clear?
Yes, it's absolutely clear on my end, actually.
Okay, so maybe Faith, try to increase the volume of your speakers. All right. So as Fictivia is a landlocked country, freight forwarders have to import via the neighboring country, which has a seaport. Okay, so all the products for Fictivia are first coming to the seaport. It usually takes 6 months from the supplier to the seaport. So the products, whenever the order is placed, it takes 6 months from the supplier to the seaport. And then 3 months from the seaport to Fictivia. Okay, so it's quite far from the seaport. So it takes about 3 months with all the custom clearance and everything finishing. And then the products would reach Fictivia in about 3 months. Under a decentralization agreement, the regions have one regional health directorate and one regional logistics unit. The regional logistics unit we will refer to as RLU in future. So the regional logistics unit, which purchases, warehouses, and transports medical products to the various hospitals and health centers in the region. Okay. So there was a decentralization agreement. So each region, so there were 5 regions. So each region, which has a regional health directorate and a regional logistics unit, they were purchasing their products by themselves. Okay. They had their own warehouse and they were transporting all the products from the regional warehouse to all the hospitals and health centers by themselves. So each of the 5 regions were managing their supply chains independently. The country's supply chain has no central operational actor except for annual consumption data, which are reported to the Ministry of Health for analysis and decision. Okay. So there is no central authority on supply chain, except data is collected, consolidated, and sent to Ministry of Health. Commodities are jointly funded by the national and regional government with participation of some international donors. Okay, so budget is passed by both the National Ministry of Health and the Regional Directorate of Health. Okay. In a recent audit by the financial controller, so there's an audit which happened in Fictivia, several problems were revealed in the procurement process of these 5 regions. So now they realized that this is not working out. So they conducted an audit. Now the audit revealed the following issues. There is a large difference in procurement prices for the same products between the regions, from small, simple differences to going up to triple the amount. So one region is buying a product at $1, while the other region is buying the same product at $3. Okay, maybe because of less volume or poor procurement practices or collusion or corruption, whatever that may be. The length of the procurement cycle or procurement lead time, difference between ordering and receiving, is also very different. It can vary between 6 to 18 months. So some of the regions are taking 18 months to finalizing their purchase orders. The frequency of orders is also variable. So different regions are ordering at a different frequency, from once every 2 years to once a quarter. So there's a huge difference. Overall, there are many reports of stockouts in health establishments, that is your health facilities or hospitals. There are several reports of stockouts. RLUs, Regional Logistics Unit, do not impose any penalties on suppliers for late delivery and frequent poor quality. So suppliers would send them poor quality products, or they will be late most of the time for delivery, but there are no penalties imposed on the suppliers. So based on these findings, the National Ministry of Health decided to convene a meeting with the 5 regional logistics units, RLUs, to find solutions to these issues. After 2 days of negotiations, it was agreed that a central logistics unit will be created to manage strategic procurement for the country in coordination with 5 regional logistics units. So now the Ministry of Health decided that the procurement will have to be more strategic. It cannot be that every region is procuring by themselves and thereby paying more and having issues at the same time. Okay, so this is the case. This is the main case. So the meeting happened. They decided that a central logistics unit will be created, but the committee could not agree on how this strategic sourcing would be conducted. So they could not agree on this issue. Okay, that how it will be conducted. Therefore, the Ministry of Health has requested technical assistance. And in this technical assistance, you are the service provider. Okay, now how it will happen. Now this is how the group discussion will work. So you have the problem which is there on this slide. This is the problem. Okay, this is the case. Your job is to decide how strategic sourcing should work. To decide that, you have to answer 10 questions. So 5 questions are on this slide. And no, 5 or 4. 4 questions are on this slide and 4 questions are on this slide. On 2 slides, there are in total of 8 questions. So these 8 questions are more or less, they will define the idea of strategic sourcing. Okay, so you have to get in 2 groups. Okay, 2 groups, and you have to answer all these 8 questions. You will get about 1 hour. After 1 hour, we will reconvene and we will discuss these questions in a plenary. Okay, but before we go towards the groups, I want to nominate 2 group leaders. The group leaders will share their screen. So if they're sharing their screen, they should have these questions in front of them. They should have a laptop so that they can write down the responses that is agreed in that group. The same group leader will also present once we come back. So please raise your hands, people who want to be group leaders. It's a matter of pride, so don't hesitate. It is good to be a group leader. So please raise your hands, people who want to be group leaders. In each of the groups, on one side, I will support the group. On the other side, Mr. Obvious will support the group. We will guide you through the process that, okay, what are the things that you should think about while answering these questions. But it has to be a discussion between yourselves. So we will not provide you the answer, but we will guide the responses. So please don't worry if you are made the group leader. Your job is to make sure that everyone in the group is talking. You give adequate time for everyone to speak, and you note down all the responses on the slides which have been sent to you. So please either write on chat or raise your hands, people who want to become group leaders. And it is great to become group leaders, you know. So please raise your hands. Okay, Faith and Sanzalve have raised their hands to become group leaders for one group. Excellent. I'm really happy, Faith and Sanzalve. You have been, excellent throughout the sessions, and you have always contribute. So I'm really glad you have chosen this. Please make sure you have the slides in front of you, which you can share on the screen when we go to the breakout rooms. And then you can note down the responses as well. So who's the second group leader? Please. Andrew, Fungi, Kumbirai. I'm just taking the names of people who are doing well. Olga in the course, so they should definitely raise their hands. One of them. Please, very quick. We don't have a lot of time. I don't know why you are so shy. Okay, quickly. Who's the second group? Andrew, you want to be the group leader?
Yes, I can take that one.
Okay, excellent. So Andrew, you have the PowerPoint with you. You can share your screen.
Not really.
Andrew, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Do you have the PowerPoint with you so that you can share your
Can
screen?
you hear me?
Andrew, can you say again?
No, I need to know. Not
Okay.
right away.
Okay. So Priyanka, can you put the PowerPoint in the chat so that Andrew can download? Maybe I can do that. 1 second. It will be much quicker. Maybe let me quickly put the PowerPoint in the chat. Okay, I've shared it in the chat. Priyanka, can you make 2 groups? Andrew in one and Faith in other, and then Obvious and myself also in one each groups. And once you're done, do let me know. So now we are going to make 2 groups on Zoom. You will automatically go into that group where on one side, Andrew will share the screen. Andrew, I've shared the PowerPoint on the chat. Please download it. And then same with Faith and Senzelve. You will have to share your screen. Priyanka, make sure the screen sharing multiple options are open. And then we will come back in about an hour. We'll discuss this and then we'll listen to Obvious about strategic sourcing. So Priyanka, whenever you're ready, you can launch the groups. Obvious, is it okay? Are you still here?
Yes, Chief, I'm still there. It's okay. Thank you.
Excellent. So Priyanka, we are waiting for you to take action. Priyanka, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm just creating it. Just in a second.
Okay. All right. If every I don't know if everyone from the other group is also here. Obvious, how was the discussion at your end? Was it excellent?
It was awesome indeed. Thank you so much. We tried
Excellent,
to
excellent.
attempt
So
very
who's
good
going to
questions.
quickly present from your group? Are you going to do that, or you have someone nominated to quick for a quick debrief?
So the group has nominated someone, Marcos Siswanda. He will take the honors.
Excellent. Makosi, over to you. You have about 5 minutes, no more than 5 minutes.
Thank you. Let me find the slide. Good afternoon, everyone.
After
Let me know when you can see the presentation.
Yes, visible.
Okay, so I'll just go straight to the answers, the questions, we all have them. The first response, the COU should be the central entity that receives the quantifications from the RLUs and consolidates this data, and the COU procures for the RLUs. So it will be a centralized or pool procurement from the COU. Next answer, the COU should purchase products for all the RLUs together. The COU identifies the suppliers for the products and selects the best supplier from which to purchase from and places the orders to the supplier. Orders should be placed biannually, and the system should be a tendering system which runs every 2 years. There should be a central warehouse, the answer is yes, and the stock holding, we propose 9 months.
Excellent.
The order quantities will be determined from AMCs received from the RLUs. These will be used to provide forecasts, and these are consolidated and used together with the number of months stock holding that will require to come up with order quantities. The payment to suppliers will be made by the COUs because the COUs are the ones which place orders to these suppliers. However, these COUs will receive funds from the RLUs, which will have been paid when they place the orders to the COUs. So RLUs place orders to COUs, they pay for the stock, and the COUs place orders to suppliers, and they also pay the stock to, they pay for the stock to the suppliers. And what procurement method should be used? We recommend a combination of tender method and direct procurement, but predominantly tender method so that we get the most competitive pricing. And what service should we request from the freight forwarder? We request that the stock is delivered to a centralized warehouse, which the COU will appoint, and this will be delivered delivery duty paid. Thank you, Chair.
Excellent. Any questions from the group that I had for Makosi Sibanda on what he has presented? Let's just take one question and then we'll go to the other group. Anyone? Artwell, Faith, Kumbirai, Charity, Blessing, any question on this presentation? Yes, Faith, go on.
Hello. I wanted to know how they came to 9 months, how they determined the 9 months of ordering.
Tim? I've got my team behind me. Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, we did have a method. We were between 6 and 12 months, and the team had a consensus that if we're going to be keeping or doing biannual orders, we'll need a bit of buffer stock for the other 3 months. So 9 months then was the final amount. 12 months was slightly long, given the shelf life of commodities that we keep, which will come maybe with already less than 2 years to expire. Then we keep another 12 months stock. So 12 months was going to be too long. So it was then between the 6 and the 12 to make 9.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Okay, so thank you, Makosi. If you can stop screen share, and then Faith, are you? So you are going to present from the other group. So over to you. I'm going to share the screen, and then you can go through the answers very quickly. Faith.
So the first question, our response was the Central Logistics Unit responsible for procurement, payment mechanism, transportation from CLU to RLU, then procurement and payment should be done at CLU, transport and distribution at RLU, then RLU acts as central warehouse, or there should be a separate entity that is warehousing of the products, then warehousing at central logistics unit. So warehousing should be at the CLU first, and then there should be a sub warehousing at RLU. Then the second question, CLU should purchase together, consolidate demand of products from each RLU with a single. Unfortunately, I was absent on this one, the PO.
PO is purchase order, purchase order.
Or to be a single purchase order. Then RLU should have some purchasing power to buy in emergencies locally. And then different RLU may have different needs, different budget cycles. Then for the third question, CLU places order quarterly, and then the RLU can place their orders dynamically based on the LMIS. Then on the fourth question, yes, there should be a central warehouse, either as a rented warehouse or one of the regional turned into one of the regional logistics unit can be turned into a central warehouse based on location or accessibility. Then we agreed at 12 months of stock should be held and should be reduced over time based on data. Then the responses for the first question, consolidation of consumption patterns from other LUs, forecast and consolidate, single supply plan, monthly consumption should be reported by the RLUs. Then payment should be made by the CLU. The RLU contributes as per their purchase, plus donors contribute for specific programs. Then on procurement method, at the central authority, there was the tender with the ITB and also the two-step pre-qualification and the quality plus the IBT and the cost. Then on the what service should the freight forwarder be asked to provide? Freight forwarder should be used handling issues, so the freight forwarder should be Then for the handling issues, the freight forwarder should be used. Then Incoterm, CIF, up to the sea freight. Then for the freight forwarder from the seaport to the warehouse. Then there are also issues of demurrage, customs, post handling. Freight forwarder has a
Sorry, port handling. That's port handling.
port handling. Okay, all right. So the freight forwarder has a contract with supplier or with the CLU. Then the clearing agent has different competencies. Forwarding agent has a different, they also have different competencies. Thank you.
Yeah. So the crux is, this conclusion is that in this group there were certain questions where there was not a single answer, so they were still discussing. So that's why there are several points to highlight certain issues like, clearing agents, forwarding agents, issues of demurrages, customs, so on and so forth. So this is the basic idea, but I think both the groups have a similar kind of responses. So if there is any questions from the other group to this group, you can ask, and then someone from this group can respond as well very quickly, and then we will go to strategic sourcing. Priyanka, can you make sure you have the slides from obvious so that we can
Yeah.
quickly go to strategic sourcing? Okay, excellent. Excellent work, both the groups. I'm really happy that there's so many contributions to this. I hope you learned that when you go to procurement, you still have to go back to how forecasting is done. Also look ahead how distribution, transportation will be done, how warehousing will be looked at. So all that is part of strategic sourcing. It's not very simple, but we will now learn a bit more about it from Obvious. So Obvious, over to you. It would be great if you can also switch on your camera so that Priyanka can put you on highlight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and greetings once again, colleagues. Well done to the groups, and thanks to the co-conveners of this call, much appreciated. Bianca, do you mind that I share so that I move it?
You have the slide control, so yeah, you
Yes.
can see if you can slide.
Okay.
Through, yeah.
Thank you. So just for introductions, my name is Obvious Maunze. I'm a Zimbabwean, one of the program participants. Professionally, I hold become accounting honors. Those qualifications on the board with an MBA from University of Milan. Also currently working as a supply chain manager for international NGO, World Vision Zimbabwe precisely. So maybe much of us know the entity. We trade in so many areas. So yeah, that's a slide of me. So let's move on then, just to be related to what we were talking into this afternoon. Solely around the procurement strategy. That was what we were doing in the groups, thanks to our conveners on unpacking that. So that makes our life easier now to then go into a little bit detail on what it is when we have to strategize. Why are we strategizing and how do we strategize? So I'll give you a few lot with regards to these slides, and then some of them I might not dwell much, but just to give you for the read and for even future usage. So procurement strategy refers to the long-term plan. That is to build strategic relationships with competitive suppliers to acquire the necessary goods and services of the best quality in a specific cost range, and they've been delivered on time. Like we're talking earlier on to say around the RASI, to say the supply lead time, procurement lead time. So that has to be referred to within the procurement strategy as well. It defines how a business should deal with these procurement processes. Like the case study, we were told its details, its pain structures. So that's how a strategy has to address what is the problem issue that we come to derive to a strategy that is derived from a business towards a solution to deal with the procurement processes that surround it. So procurement strategy identifies the best way of achieving objectives of the project and the value for money. Like we're talking into the cost issues, the transport factor, and the like. So we have to take into account all the risks and constraints that go with related to that shipment or that procurement of the planned activity. Here is just a diagram that maybe summarizes what a procurement strategy should look like. We are talking of business data, like some of us were mentioning the consolidation, right? We are talking of operations. What are the issues that we want to achieve? The procurement cost, the quality and service. We'll look into economic data. That is the invoice, the commodity indexes, the dynamics around like Zimbabwe, those policies, those price fluctuations, and the like. So those are some of the aspects that we'll be looking into in detail, so that we then have a feel of what it is that should be defined within a procurement strategy. All right. So let's then narrow down to the drivers of the strategy. What are the issues? Number one, the environment. Number two, the economic recession. Number three, the government policy itself. Those are some of the things that derive or drive the strategy. Strategies may be imposed by the environmental pressures. For example, the banning of the K-lights. I'm sure some of us own those environmental friendly food containers. You remember when the government introduced the K-lights. So those who were into that business had to be affected. How did you then evolve to address the environmental factor as much as the entity could have been into that business? The economic recession itself, where the cost cutting is required. We are in a dollarized economy. What are the issues that we need to address as a team, as a business unit, as an organization? Let's look at the robust way of where we can then cost cut, because the money is not there. It's all around the economic recession. Government policies that you recall the statutory instruments that get promulgated every time and again. What are the environmental issues that should influence change of how we do business, how we structure, how to operationalize? So that is all around the strategy. You look at the macro and macro factors, the external forces that influence our operations, our business. So others have devised the e-procurement around where they look at the spend analysis, the product categorization, the timeline, and also the framework agreements, the contracts. Some of the organizations have gone further to expand and make sure they are relevant, make sure they are within the latest technologies. Those that then interpret data, those that then move away from manual way of doing business and have a strong visibility on our spend analysis on how we are doing business. So that's the e-procurement we are talking into, which needs to be also looked at, because it has got its own benefits as well. You are talking of streamlining operations. You are managing the risks that may be salient there, that may not be seen. You are talking of data that is proven right now. If we were to say, how much consolidation do we want to undertake this FY23? We should have that ability to spool data immediately. That's the spend analysis or the configurations that should follow the procurement. Are we still into manual? Are we still into the old school of doing business? How is our technology done? All those full visibility around spend, which category or which area has got a higher spend. Can our system interpret that? Can we have a system that then does the analysis, with the finger, just a tip of the fingers, just a click of the button? Can we spool that data from the system other than getting a manual data that can be, lost in between and not give us a specific view of how we've been doing business? So the e-procurement itself gives you the quotations from the suppliers. Many of the suppliers, you find some of them are gradually, migrating from the manual quotations, those huge stationery for quotation books. They are now doing that online. That's what we are talking about. The budgets, are they in order? Review of the request, can you do that online? The purchase requisitions themselves. These are some of the systems that go along with the benefits of e-procurement. What can we do? So it's a strategy that when we look into it, we have a visibility, we have a flow of all that we want to understand, to want to cross-check the dynamics of our doing of business together. So this is the e-procurement, very many benefits there if you follow the chart. It can also give you the leeway on who received the goods, or a system that gives access on how to receive goods. And even when you go online, you will check that obviously is the one who received all the goods that came through these farmers today. So that is the way of doing business through a strategy. Three-way matching. What do we understand about three-way matching? We are saying there is the goods received not, there is the purchase order that was issued, and there is the invoice. All those three documents must match. All those three documents must match. Three-way matching. Do we have such a strategy in our system that can then take on board an appreciation so that we do not have errors, or minimal errors should be visible in our trading? Invoice approval, those who are into finance, you know the record keeping aspects. So it's all about coming up with a strategy that then gives in detailed visibility around how we do business. So this is very important. Strategize, look at your own business, look at your company where you are working at. What are the issues that are there? Are we still doing the manual? Are we still doing the old way of managing waste? So this is the thing that we want to talk into. Just in time, we know that. Cost reduction, we know that. Those are all the benefits of strategic sourcing. We have to have a supplier management and optimization processes that speak into our way of doing business. So basically, some of the slides, like I alluded earlier, these are for your benefit. They will be shared, where you will be seeing quite a lot of reading there, which then you can make decisions on how to go around your own strategy. Which system do you want to take on? Which software is being applied at your organization or on a personal take? And all about data entry and the associated efficiencies there. So analyze the organization spend. That's how the strategy will come into the fold. Determine the business needs itself, like tools that categorize all your spend. which areas of the pharmacies or the categories that are largely of high spend. Can our system determine that? Can it categorize that? All those needs, the stakeholders, can the reports be sent out? The vision, the business objectives, can they be packaged within our strategy so that we move as an informed entity? Also assess the market conditions. What are the dynamics? Are we still in the Zim dollar payment era, or most charges are now in USD? Are you aligned as an entity or as an individual? So assess the market requirements so that you get informed on the status quo, and then you move on with an informed decision. So the data that you collect, it can be from our Porter analysis, the Porter analysis, those 5 forces, the threats, the bargaining power, the rivalry, the competitiveness. You should be geared, you should be ready, you should be live on these things. So that is the strategy. You have to be always on course in terms of the strategy. Set your objectives very clear. Know what to do, where to enter. Are you a jack of all trade? Which areas can you let go? Those are some of the strategies that one can always define in their procurement strategy or sourcing strategies. Which things can we source from where? Are they found locally? Are they cheaper locally? That competitive analysis, the SWOT analysis, and also your procurement strategy, you have to have it live and reviewed always. Always list the things that you desire as your goals and the tactics that you'll use to achieve them. Always. So it should be a live strategy. Always outline it, always revisit it, always measure yourself so that you are relevant. And towards the end, we are talking about the tactic plans, the measurables, the deliverables there, the tools that you are going to apply so that you are well positioned to the Porter's 5 strategies. And lastly, the procurement strategy should have all those aspects around the supply markets analysis, around your staff, the buying department, the operations department, who is who. You should be very conversant with your status quo vis-a-vis how you would want to undertake, like we were talking into that case study. The CLU, the regions, everybody involved. Who should be doing the payments? Who should be doing this and that? So basically, in a nutshell, due to time, this is what you have to do to come up with your own strategy. And once you have that strategy, you have got the best of trading, and you've got to be relevant and apply it every time when technology changes as well. Otherwise, thank you so much for listening. And to Priyanka, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to talk to each other. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Obvious, this was indeed a masterclass on strategic sourcing, and I think we need to organize a webinar on a much larger scale to discuss excellent points that you have talked today. Unfortunately, we had less time, but I think we need a much bigger session on this, and I will reach out to you for that. I think there are some of the points which a lot of people in Zimbabwe can learn from, and learn from you, who is a practitioner in this. Now, there is a poll which has been launched on today's feedback. We really like to hear from you. How did you like today's session? This was the first discussion session in this class, and I hope you enjoyed it. By the time you're doing that, so in summary, what Obvious talked about is a life cycle approach where you don't see procurement as a one-off exercise, but you include procurement in the overall supply chain life cycle. And that's why everything you can see is part of that overall strategy. So you can call it a procurement strategy, but every other supply chain function is either an input to that strategy or is dependent on the output of the procurement exercise or the procurement function. So it is very important for you to, Priyanka, can you please mute? There is someone, Synodia, I think. Synodia, Patsirai, if you can, yeah, thank you. So it is important that you first understand procurement as a function and then go towards how to do it in a strategic manner. What are the various tools that you can use? What are the various technological inputs that you can use? For example, e-procurement, like Obvious talked about, is the new thing. It's not really a new thing. We have been using it now for at least 10 years in different parts of the world, even in the developing countries, where everything is end-to-end electronic. And the benefit of that is that it reduces corruption, it reduces redundancy, it reduces a lot of dead time that is there in procurement. That's why your procurement lead times become this big. So if you're using e-procurement strategies, then everything is quick. The turnaround time is quite quick, and everything is visible to the main stakeholders. So thank you so much, Obvious, for this excellent presentation. And I think there is a need to delve deeper into this issue so that even a broader community of supply chain professionals can, you know, uh, can be involved and included in this discussion. So excellent session. I really enjoyed it personally, much better than the other presentations where I was the only one speaking. So I really liked where everyone contributed today and we had a guest speaker. We will try to do these kind of things much more in the future. And thank you, everyone. I hope you finish your course in the time that is allocated to you. As I said, there has been an extension of 1 week. It has been announced already. So please make sure you finish the course in that time, because otherwise you will not receive the international CPD certificate. And then all the practicing pharmacists and pharmacy technicians, if you complete the course, we will also, through Pharmacist Council of Zimbabwe, we will also allocate CPD, national CPD points to you as well. So please, you have to complete the course in time to be eligible for all these certifications. If you don't complete it, then you have to apply again. There will be no more extension after this, and you have to pay for the program again. Okay, with that, I really thank you, Obvious. It was excellent interacting with you and learning from you. We hope to work with you more in the future. Thanks, Wilson. Thank you to IAPHL for the continued support, and thank you everyone for tuning in today. See you all next week. And I will also look at all the various discussion responses on the platform. Have a good week. Have a good weekend.